IELTSCast, episode 37.
You're listening to IELTSCast, the podcast that puts you in touch with successful IELTS candidates from around the world. Listen and learn as they explain how they achieved Band 7, 8 and even 9. Now, here's your host, Ryan.
Hello and welcome to IELTSCast. Today I'm speaking with David, an IELTS candidate from Germany who took his IELTS in Sydney, Australia. David scored an amazing 8.5 overall. He had an 8.5 in listening, reading, and writing, and a band 8 in speaking. And David wrote me an email after this tremendous victory and described his study strategies as non-standard. So I'm very excited, and I think we're all quite privileged to hear what non-standard strategies allowed him to dominate the IELTS in this way. So hello, David, and welcome to IELTScast.
Hi, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. So, David, let's just start by creating a bit of a profile of who you are and what your relationship to the IELTS is. So, why did you take the IELTS?
All right. So first of all, thank you very much for your introduction. And why did I take the IELTS? So I took the IELTS for immigration purposes. So I arrived in Sydney in November 2013, and I was on a working holiday visa, so I was not in the need of having an IELTS score, but I decided I want to stay here, and so for that I needed to do this IELTS test.
Okay, and this was the first attempt that you made?
The one that you just mentioned was actually the third attempt.
Okay. But did all three occur in Sydney?
Yeah, that's correct. So I had in total 3, and the first one was in June 2014, and the last one was in June 2015, so exactly 1 year later.
Oh, okay. And so I guess if you took it for immigration purposes, you took the general.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. David, I'd like to quote your email, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
You wrote, "My mother tongue is German and I scored 8.5 in IELTS." And then you wrote, "So before I forget everything about the exam, I'd like to have my ideas and tips shared with your listeners. I'd reckon my advice is not the standard. I think I'd have some insight to share." Now, so something unique about your email is that it includes a photo of your results paper next to what I'm assuming is a celebratory Bavarian beer in a Bavarian beer house. So what were these non-standard, preparation tactics that you were following?
Okay, so I mean, in the end, it's not something magical or something that might even surprise you. So don't expect any witchery here. But so what I did, because I went through this IELTS, let's say, pain or study, or however you want to call it, both actually, for like over a year, a little bit more. And so I was writing notes from all these advices on YouTube videos, websites, and from what people were saying. But in the end, I think there were some things that I think would be beneficial to know, and what I would like to share. And that's my, let's say, non-standard, or maybe actually I should rephrase it. It's something that people maybe don't mention, but in the end can be very beneficial for you to know. Mm-hmm. So I personally feel that, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who would agree, that it feels at least like it's an unfair system. So it's a physically exhausting system. You are there for a couple of hours and you're under extreme stress. So it's not only that you are passing an exam. Your life actually might change dramatically depending on your results. So there are some people here in Australia who really have only some days left, and then they need to depart the country if they don't get the results, or if they cannot apply for their PR or whatever visa they need to apply for or study. So there's really a lot of pressure, and especially for people who can't handle these physical, exhausting things, it's really hard, you know. So, for example, I myself figured out that I need to go to the toilet quite often, so I always have to pee.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe I should go to a doctor, but yeah, it feels like I have to pee more often than other people. So, yeah, and there I saw one official IELTS video on YouTube, and the recommendation was if you need to go to the bathroom more often when you drink something, don't drink at all, maybe. And I think that's pretty harsh, you know, because your brain or your body needs liquid and needs water, and it's actually not made for having breaks like that, because you need every minute normally for every section if you're not really good. So I think it's a little bit uncomfortable, you know. So you go into this exam, you're super stressed, and if you have something like that, then you just need to find your own strategy, you know, to avoid situations that you have to go to the bathroom and lose valuable time.
Actually, you're not the only one to say that. I've had interviews before where people were actually stressing to have water and to ensure that you are taking water, you know, throughout the examination to, I guess, to keep yourself, you know, well hydrated.
That's correct. So that's basically just for me as an introduction to what I feel about the IELTS, or something that I wanted to say, what I find very unfair. But it leads to actually one of the points that is from my point of view mandatory for your success, is that even though you will think it's really an unfair system, and some people say it doesn't really test your language, it's more about, you know, handling the stress and all that, but don't use that as an excuse to not do your best. Because you have to cope with it, you know. You can't you can say it's a bad system, and you can repeat it as often as you want. You can be angry about it, but in the end, you have to do it. Yeah, so don't use that as an excuse to not be able to handle it or to fail it. So just see it as an opportunity to prove that you can actually do your very best.
That's good advice.
So that's my my number one tip, and that's the base of everything else. So then some of my advices now, they are based upon, you know, me, or I was living here in a native English speaking country. So some of the advices may not apply to some people who want to come to English speaking countries and are now living in their home countries or somewhere else. But I strongly recommend that if you are actually physically in an English-speaking country, that you should really try to avoid to hang around with people who speak your mother tongue or who actually don't speak English very well. So, because they're... Yeah.
Oh, no. I was just going to say that. So I guess were you practicing over the 3 years that you were in Australia, that sort of lifestyle?
No. I that was actually what I did here in Australia. I just want to say that once you're in that country, really use that opportunity to speak with people who can actually speak English very well. The best, even, you know, really native speakers here. So there are some groups that you know, some people from some countries where it's very common that they hang around with people from their country. You know, I don't want to say any nations, but it's you know, it's not a surprise. You know, people know that, and it's actually really for your best to avoid them. So I was, you know, here in Australia, you meet Germans everywhere, you know, but I was really trying to avoid them, and not only because of the the English language. It's also because you want to learn the culture, you want to learn other cultures as well. So, I've seen Germans like 29 years before, I don't need to see them now in Australia all the time.
No, that's good advice, yeah. So, so in what context did this play out? I mean, was it just pretty much everything you did, you tried to put an Australian spin on it and, leave the German context of it out?
Well, I mean, yeah, I was trying to really avoid them, and to meet as many Australians as possible, and also, also other people, maybe from Canada, or from the States, or UK, who speak English, obviously very well. Yeah, so I don't think that you need to be too strict on that. I mean, I tend to be a little bit too. How should I say, a little bit too radical, really, then if I decide I don't want to meet any Germans, I don't meet any Germans,
Okay, so you kind of take it to an extreme.
I mean, you don't need to be, sorry?
No, I was just saying it sounds like you have that extreme personality where if you make a decision to live this way, you live completely this way.
Yeah, well, it's not basically maybe the very wise decision. So sometimes, it's good to speak to people from your country, obviously, but actually it's good not to spend too much time with them. So that was, I think, one good decision that I made. And I saw some people who really just stick to people from their own country.
Right.
You see, they are making the same mistakes, and you think, my God, you're living in a native English-speaking country. Please learn that language.
Yeah. I agree with you that, if somebody's going to make a very serious play at learning a language, that trying to distance yourself to a degree, as much as you can, from these pulls that will pull you back into speaking your own language, can be really helpful in giving you that push and giving that friction to improve your language.
But everybody has to find their own way, if it makes you feel much more comfortable, if you're around people from your country, then please go ahead, do that. But it will maybe be a little bit harder for you to get the score that you want. So I don't want to judge anyone here. I just want to make that clear. But yeah, it's not beneficial.
Yeah, no, good point.
Then, so what I did also, so not only avoiding Germans, but I also really tried to stay in touch with people that I see every day that are native English speakers. So when I was searching for flat shares, I was specifically really checking that they are from Australia or from the UK or another English-speaking country. So here in Australia, the rents are so high that basically will normally end up in a flat share. That's a great opportunity not only to meet great people and to get to know each other, really great people that become also strong friends later on. You really have the opportunity to speak and train your English here very well. And I had the experience that, and that's one of my advices, also ask people to correct you when you make mistakes. And a lot of people will not do that for very long because they still feel a little bit odd, or unfair, or if they correct you. But I had the experience that in a flat share, because your flatmate knows exactly that you study all the time, that you need to be corrected, so they will normally not have this barrier to cross that they correct you. So they are very likely to correct you. That's at least what I experience.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. I mean, when you do have that closeness with people and you're living with them and you create this camaraderie, and if you say to them, listen, be unforgiving, tell me exactly when, what am I saying wrong, what am I doing wrong, what am I writing wrong, and then like I think what you're saying is that it's not an acquaintance that's going to be shy about telling you when you're wrong. It's someone that knows that this is actually the best thing for you, and they respect your goals, and that they go out of their way to make sure that you're being pushed towards those goals.
And the Australian culture is normally also that they don't. The Australians don't really want to have arguments, or they try to make the living for each other, as smoothly as possible, which is nice and which is a great part of the Australian culture. But sometimes it would be nice, if they would be able to say, oh, no, sorry, that was wrong. But that's really something that not a lot of Australians will do. So you really have to remind them, it's important to me, please correct me. Or ask them, for example, when you see, oh, I just made a mistake, that must be obvious for you. Why didn't you say something, And then they will probably say, oh, yeah, sorry, yeah, true. Yeah, you sometimes make this mistake. And then you kind of can get them into the direction that they feel comfortable themselves to correct you.
Right.
Because it's also, it's odd, if you're playing the teacher, you don't want that. But if you really know the other one wants that, that's fine. That's what they are going to do then.
Right.
Yeah. So for example, in my workplace, and I ask my colleagues, no one really corrects me, because they're also not that close to you, and I think they really want to have a little bit more distance, and they just let you talk, and then you make these mistakes, and you're a foreigner, and whatever, they don't correct you. I think the workplace is good to listen to people and to if you hear yourself talking, you will hear if you make mistakes, and if you write something, then you will see what's right and wrong. But no one really will tell you, "Oh, that's wrong, David." You have to say it in that way. Sometimes you see reactions are a little when people have like a weird face, and then you ask them, "Did I say something strange, odd?" And then they will probably say, "Oh, yeah, you said this and that, but I guess you mean that and that." Then you see, okay, I actually meant that. Thank you for saying that. And then you see that you made a mistake. So really try to read their reaction.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So if you notice that maybe there was a bit of miscommunication in what you said, to just go back and question what that's all about.
Yeah. And also, if it's possible, try to. If you come there as a single, try to get a native English-speaking girlfriend or boyfriend. I don't say that, if there's, the woman or the man of your life, and maybe that person doesn't speak a word of English, go for it, But if it's possible, try to make the chances higher that maybe the special one speaks English well, So... then one of the mandatory things is, I mentioned before that, you will always feel as an IELTS candidate this unfairness in this IELTS, but try to see something, really an opportunity in that, and try to laugh and to learn this language, and you have to learn English. It's not only for immigration. It's not that you need to get the score 7, 8 or beyond that. It's also, it's something that it's mandatory to learn it. You need it to migrate really into a country and to really have conversations that are interesting and go beyond this is my name, I'm from there, and that's it, and these are my hobbies.
Yeah, and I think, instantly, it's not instant, it's a very slow process, of course, but when you do get to these higher levels of English, so much more becomes accessible to you in countries like Australia.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It definitely improves your life and your possibilities. It's amazing, and otherwise you will always feel strange, You don't want to listen to news and don't have a clue what they are talking about. You don't want to see a movie and in the end you only know what the movie was about because you saw the pictures.
Right.
And you want to talk to people and respond and know what they are talking about and not silently laugh or say nothing or,
Yeah.
And also people will see where your level of English is, and when it's quite low, no one will go into really interesting discussions, And sometimes you see, I like this border security show where they show how many idiots are trying to Canada or Australia or the States with drugs or whatever, or fruits that are forbidden.
Yeah.
And then there are people who don't speak a word of English, or who have only very limited ability to speak. And then you see that the people from border security, they say, "Oh, no good, you know, and just imagine yourself that people think, "Oh my God, this guy doesn't speak a word, or it's so basic." They will probably not say "no good," but they will say, "Ah, okay, you're from there, lovely." And then they also see, "Oh, okay, this guy has really not the ability to understand me completely," and then you miss out so many interesting discussions. You will only be on this very weird level and feel isolated. Yeah, so it's actually, in the end, it forces you, this IELTS test forces you to do something that's mandatory, what you need to do anyway. You just actually, you have a test behind, you get scored for it. You unfortunately pay a lot of money for it, but because you get forced to do that, try to really see that you have to do it anyway, that it's actually fun. And then, of course, people say, do what you want to do, listen to listen to podcasts, or watch movies that you like, or read whatever you like. So really try to see that not only as a thing you do for this test, but it's something that you would do anyway, because you don't want to end up in a country where you don't speak the language very well.
Yeah.
I experience it sometimes as a good stress. So sometimes I came back from work, and I was really, the first thing I did, I was watching YouTube videos, or reading something, or trying to learn something. And on other days I came back home and I was like, "Oh my God, no, I don't want to do that now, because in the end there's still pressure, after a while you will sometimes probably need a break, and that's what I did. I took a break.
Yeah.
And
but I think that goes back to your point, though, that if you live with flatmates that are English speakers, then you can take a break from your studies, but you're never really able to take a break from the exercises of using English on a daily basis, which I think is helpful. Yeah. I mean, when you set up the environment where there's no real escape, you have to use it to get through your day. It really does kind of help you to keep practicing, even when you're not formally sitting down in front of a YouTube video or in front of a practice test or something like that.
That's true, and I think that you should not underestimate the power of this kind of learning, because it's natural. You are naturally learning, so you don't have to really force yourself. I think you have to also force yourself to, let's say, speed it up, but also to perfectionize it, so to really see where you're making mistakes. But it will go, every day you will learn, and so sometimes it's okay just to take some time, or let it take time. It will grow naturally if you really don't force yourself to not learn. Then you will learn.
Yeah.
Well, I met some guy in a hostel that was quite funny, and he was from Iran, and he was here as a refugee, and so he didn't have to work to stay here, and the only thing he could say was good and no good.
Oh, okay.
And he was there for 2 years, and I don't know how is that possible. And then he learned one sentence. He kind of fell in love with a French girl there, and then he asked someone what it means, like "I like you" or something. And then he learned one sentence: "I'm crazy about you." So the only thing he could say is good, no good, and "I'm crazy about you."
No, I was going to say, so he was staying in a hostel for 2 years, and that's the only bits of English he learned? Oh, okay. I mean, it's almost like he was actively trying not to learn the language.
Exactly, that's what I mean. You have to force yourself to not learn, and then actually, it's kind of impressive that this is possible,
Yeah, that's true.
But normally that's not going to happen, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have one point that I would like to mention. So write down all your words that you haven't heard before, that you just hear in a movie, or when people are talking, or when you read something, write it down. Some words are not that important, and if it's something very special, you will see. You might not really need to know it, or you don't need to actually put it into your active vocabulary. But if you hear some words more and more often, it definitely makes sense to write them down. And so I have an Excel list. I first write on my iPhone, I write everything as a note. So it's very unsorted. And then I put everything in an Excel list, and then I sort them as a noun, adjective, adverb. So, and there, I think it makes sense to also sort them, and I put adjectives and adverbs into one category. So, and then also learn the prepositions with the verbs all the
absolutely.
time.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and that's very important. Now, I was just going to ask whether, when you record these words, if you also record some sort of small phrase to remind you of how they're used in context, because sometimes if you just record the word and its meaning, that doesn't necessarily mean that the execution of the word is there. The person might remember what the word means, but they might not be able to use it correctly in a sentence. So in your list, do you include anything like that? Any sort of example phrase to kind of prompt your memory?
Yeah, well, I do that not for all of the words, but definitely that's a good way of learning, and because otherwise later on you really don't know how to use it in which context. You have heard it, and then you kind of if you try to force to use this word actively in your language, then you might put it into a wrong context, and it sounds a little bit odd. Everybody will know what you mean, but it sounds just strange. And so if there's an expression, or if you have heard it in a certain context, definitely makes sense to write down that part of the sentence, so you know where you've heard it and how you can use it.
I think that candidates, they sometimes get into this trap of thinking that if they use more advanced academic language, that somehow just using it, whether it's a little incorrect or correct, will help their mark. And it's just a spiral downwards, because when that starts to happen, the grammatical accuracy of the sentence isn't correct. When the grammatical accuracy of the sentence isn't there, then the whole ability of the listener or the reader to understand what they're trying to say goes down. So the overall coherence is hurt by this, and then on top of that, the whole ability for them to achieve the task is also hurt. So it's a bit of a domino effect, I think. And unfortunately, I think candidates do get into these practices where they think just knowing a huge list of words is going to somehow help them, but that's not really it at all. Yeah, but that sounds like a good tip. So just so I've got the strategy right, though, you say that you write this kind of loosely on your phone, and then where is the master list? Is that also on your phone, or is that on your computer?
So that master list, that's a nice word. I put that onto my computer, yeah, and that's when I come back home later on the weekends, I put all this unsorted stuff in there, and then I sort it in other sheets, and that's how I do it. Because you don't want to. Sometimes I was also on the radio on the morning. I listened to the radio, and there was an expression, and then I just want to. It's a traffic light. Officially I don't do that, but when it's red, then I write down the word that I heard. You don't have much time to waste. You will not look it up, so I just write it down. Sometimes even with spelling mistakes, and that doesn't really matter. It's just sometimes I don't have a clue how would that be written, and then just write it down in a way that I know that's how it sounds, and later on I find out. That's how it's written. And that's also one point what I would recommend for words where you don't really remember how you write them, or where you always make spelling mistakes. Just mark the part that you pronounce strangely or wrongly mark that red or bold or something, and write down something like spelling or something like that, or pronunciation, so you know that you make this mistake. Sometimes I wrote something in the list and I don't know why is that in this list. That's a very common word, and I know this since years. But then I remember, someone told me that's actually that was a wrong pronunciation.
Oh.
For example, I said I clicked on a button to register. Or was it register? Now I'm confused. I think I said to register,
Okay.
and then they said, and they couldn't understand what I meant, and then they said, "Oh, you meant register."
Mm-hmm.
Well, register? Now I'm confused myself.
No, I think you got
Bad
the story
example,
right.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, actually, that's a very, very good advice. So it's just to kind of not only catalog the new words that you're coming up with, but catalog the areas that are weak. And then when you go back to do review,
at the moment,
it's very good to it will help reinforce these areas. That's a really good piece of advice.
Okay. Then one thing, there was a British series that I liked, and what was the name again? I don't know. Anyway, it was with two strange people, two very weird guys.
Little Britain, maybe.
Sorry?
Little Britain.
No, it was not Little
okay.
Britain.
Okay. Was it a drama,
I
or was
don't
it
know.
A comedy, or what kind of show?
A comedy.
A comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy show. Yeah, it's two people who live together, Fletcher, and they are both very strange, but in different ways.
Okay.
I will come up with the name later.
Okay.
But anyway, so I really loved that series, and that's embarrassing that I don't know the title now. But actually, that was a really cool series, and I watched it, and I wrote down words, what they are talking, what I didn't know. And then later on, I asked also some native English speakers, so do you use that, and what does that mean? And the woman that I talked with, she said, David, some of these expressions I've never heard, and others, they are just strange. Don't use it, And I was like, but I like them, But she said, but, no one speaks like that. Yeah. So there's my advice. If you like to see these kind of series with strange guys, or people who are obviously weirdos, or maybe old movies, just expect, keep in mind that people talk in a way that you would normally not talk nowadays, at least, And these kind of vocabularies, if you learn them, you will automatically, you will not know it, but you will talk in a very strange way, and people will not look at you like, oh, your English is very sophisticated. They will just think you're an idiot, or you're from the past, or maybe they will get that you learn it in a strange way, but it will not help to raise your mark. So, other than that, I definitely recommend, if you have the possibility, if you have the money for it and the time, to just go on holiday in English-speaking countries before you actually sit the test, just to get more familiar with the language, to have an easy-going training for yourself. And maybe, some people, they want to arrive here in Australia, and they could come here, for example, on a working holiday visa.
Yeah. So
the main purpose is holiday. So that's what actually this visa is about. But you can still also work, so you can make a little bit of money. And well, in the meantime, you can already improve your English. And then at the end of the working holiday visa, maybe you don't even need to do anything to improve your score. It will automatically be done like that. I think in the end, it's important that you're not too hard on yourself. And sometimes also you have days when your language skills are dropping. At least for me, also in my native language, so German. Sometimes I have days I wake up and I talk to people and it's like, oh my God, what happened? Am I dumb or what? So then I don't come up with vocabularies. I don't know how to express myself, and then I think, oh my God, I should not have left my apartment today. But sometimes you just have days where you just don't make the magic happen, So sometimes you will probably, maybe you have a blackout in the exam or whatever, or you're, I don't know, maybe you're ill or something like that. So don't be too hard on yourself if it didn't work out the first time. And if possible, if you're not like a once bitten, twice shy guy, then just see the first exam as a practice, don't see it as something really the first time where it has to work out, As we talked before, there are people who, for them, it's a little bit more money then. But if you are in this situation, thankfully, then that the $330 or whatever you need to pay for it won't really hurt you, then just relax a little bit and see it as a training. And I think it will go more smoothly then. And also then you see how things really work. I think this whole IELTS test is not really about this English language. It's a lot about personality. It's, you have to have a strong belief. You need to believe in yourself. And what I think is very important, something that you will always come across when it comes up to achieving goals, being successful in something, draw the picture in your mind. It's really something that's, I don't know, it's maybe not really scientifically proven, but people who are successful or people who aim something, they know that if you picture something in your mind, you will actually automatically make that happen. So what I did, I changed my Windows password that I logged in every day, and when I was going on break and had to type it in again, I used iScore 8 or PR soon, so permanent residence soon. So
yeah. Oh no, that's good advice. Yeah, so it's kind of like a mantra almost.
Yeah, if you do that, every single day for really every day, you automatically believe it. Sometimes I was typing it in and I thought, I will get that. I don't know how really, but I will make it.
No, yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think this episode is focused on quite a few of the psychological elements that go along with performing, at an 8.5 level on the examination. No, I think that's very good advice.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. And also, but what you need to do is not only, of course, on the one hand, you need to be, very positive, have positive energy, believe in yourself, but also face and be honest to yourself. Face what you're not good at. So if you're not good at speaking or you're not good at listening, don't just read books or do exactly where that's what you will do best. That will be a nice feeling to see that you're good at it already, which is fine. It's part of the test. But then at a certain time when you've already done enough, then really face what you're not good at. It's not comfortable, but I think you need to do that. So, well, it's a normal thing, you try to avoid these kind of things, but
yeah, there's no ducking it really.
The end.
Is there? So David, I have a couple of questions, but I just want to save my questions until we've kind of gone through everything that you wanted to share.
Yeah. Well, okay. I've a little bit left here, which I wanted to still mention. I am German, and Germans are very known for their efficiency. So I think some people will have waited for that efficiency advice.
Well, it's funny though, David. One of my questions here has to do with that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, maybe your question's already answered after that, but you can already shoot if you want. So if you're burning, just ask.
No. You go ahead. I think you're already on a tangent.
Okay, all right. So for the reading test, I have one really good advice, I think, that helped me a lot. So if you have to find something in a text for this yes, true, false, and not given, then once you found the answer for one of these questions, put a mark or a pipe. What I use a pipe after the word that actually answers a question. So you have like you set a delimiter. The next answer will be after that. It somehow it not only helps you to not be distracted by the stuff that you read before, which is normally not of interest anymore. You will also have the feeling that you have to scan less. So then you, after the answer that you found, you just read the next question. So how much is a ticket for 4 persons? And then you read something, blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of blah, blah inside, so you have to scan it. And then you read, tickets for 4 is $500. And then you put another pipe, and then you have this question answered.
So when
and
you
this
say
way,
you mean you just cross a line across. Is that right? You said
well, I don't cross the line. I just put a pipe, like a capital I. Well, it can be anything, Yeah. I just put this thing there.
Oh, you mean like where once where the answer to one question, like where that sentence ends, you put a kind of a line or some sort of marker to keep the place.
Not even at the end of the sentence, at the end of the word, because what I found out is that really in there are exceptions, but very, very rare. So you can almost ignore it if you have the time to really find these exceptions. Then you can go for it. But I would say most of the times, really, every answer is written after that. Sometimes 2 questions are answered in one sentence, or sometimes, but they are always in the same order. At least I haven't seen an exception. So you can really ignore everything that was before. And then you can automatically really focus on the next question. And that's for a lot of people a problem, these not given things. If you have the question for the answer for question 1, for example, then so we now know, okay, the tickets are $500. Then the next question is something about cancellation fees. And then you have, I don't know, when the trip starts. And then you find nothing about these cancellation fees, but then you read automatically, or you read the next question, like when does the trip start? Then okay, I found the answer for that. So it must be between the first pipe and the second pipe, the answer for the question for the cancellation fee.
I see.
So when you read that again and there's nothing there, it's obviously not given.
Okay. Oh, that's very, that is a new strategy. I see what you're saying. So, I mean, it's you just kind of keep going through it. You find the answers that are clearly true or false, and you put little markers where those are, kind of like within the text. And then if anything is can't be found, by the time you get to the end of the text, you go back to that section. If you still can't find it, then that's a clear not given.
Yeah, exactly, and you save a lot of time. And these not given, they are sometimes so strange. You really don't know, is that now not given or is that false? Sometimes it's it's very hard to tell.
Sometimes there's
they try to trick you there. But if you really know it must be in there and in there, then you can scan it. You can read that even very carefully. Because you have it physically. You have like a border between the first and the third answer, so it must be in there. And then read it carefully. And people say you don't have time to really read every word, but for these cases I would say take the time and read every word. Read it carefully. And then if you don't see it, just it's not given. So okay, then that was for me for the reading part. So there are so many other great advices about all these sections, but I think you have heard them 100 million times, and people will have heard it 100 million times. So people who are listening to the podcast, they already know all that. So I don't want to bother you with that.
Okay. Well, if I can just ask my question then, which has to do with being German and taking the IELTS, because Germany, according to IELTS.org, is right up there in terms of like average IELTS grades. And I don't know if there'd be some reason that you can think of. I mean, why would that be true? Are there certain similarities between German and English that you've noticed that give maybe German people taking the exam some sort of advantage? I mean, what would be your thoughts on that? Why do Germans tend to perform so well on average compared to everybody else around the world?
Well, I haven't heard about that fact before, but I think it's our efficiency. To be honest, I've really not heard about that before, but I think it's is mainly because it has always been a very important subject in school. So from the 5th grade to normally your last day at school, you will have a lot of English training, and everybody tries to put into your brain it's important that you know English. Everybody knows that. And German is a language that not so many people learn. There are exceptions, but it's not the first language that you will normally learn. So there's Germany, Switzerland, and Austria where it's spoken naturally. But beside that, no one understands German normally. And it's a complicated language, so you're actually forced to learn English. And why it's English? I think, English is just the language that you need to speak globally. And maybe, for example, Spain or Italy or Portugal, Belgium, I know that the Belgians, they also speak English very well, but actually these countries are in a position they have a language that is already considered as very important. Also France, and the French are very proud of their language and of their culture, and French is a very important language. So they have never been in this mindset, most of them at least, that they need to learn another language to communicate with other people. So a lot of people will think French is the most important language. Then people in Spain will say Spanish is like it's very important, very very important for trade. And there are so many other countries where they speak Spanish. So you can go ahead with just speaking Spanish. You can go on holidays and speak Spanish with everyone. So you're in a very nice comfort zone. And same with Portugal and all that. So and also Germany is a very small country. So you can't travel around in a lot of places and speak your native language. Whereas, for example, maybe Russia, you can travel, I don't know how many thousands of kilometers, or China, such a big country.
Yeah.
And for example, people from the States, okay, obviously they speak English very well, but they can travel within their own country and see so many different things. That's why a lot of people just see the States, because they think, why should I fly somewhere else? We have such a diverse country. If I want to go to the mountains, if I want to see the snow, I go there. If I want to see the desert, I go there. And in Germany, we are just limited in these possibilities. And I think it's a thing, something that really is in our mindset, that we need to learn that. And if you don't learn that, then everybody knows you kind of have to know it. For your education, it's in your brain automatically that you need to learn it. There's no way around it. And if you, for example, if you don't pass one of these main subjects in your in school, then you will probably have to repeat that grade again. And so you have to get at least kind of acceptable grades.
No, that's very interesting insight.
Yeah, and Germany is it's a country that is completely focused on exporting. So we are very, very thankful that people want to buy stuff from our country.
Yeah.
If we wouldn't be in that comfort zone, then we would have a problem. So we need to communicate to other people. There are just too many companies that are focus on export or on international trade and so on. So, and we can't expect that people learn German for us. Come on, there are enough Germans who don't even speak proper German, unfortunately.
Oh.
And so it's a very hard language. And to sum it up, I've read it somewhere on Facebook. German, life is too short to learn German, and I agree. If you're not German, just don't. If you have really nothing else to do, or if you really love that language, or if you want to immigrate, please learn German. Otherwise, it's all right.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to learn it. There are other things that might be maybe more interesting and less painful. Okay. So maybe listening. I want to say something
Sure.
for the listening
Yeah.
section, and because that listening listening was for me always something where I said, okay, that's very difficult for me, and I know that a lot of people agree on that. And one of the reasons I think is your concentration is already gone. That's normally the last part of the IELTS. And your head is smashed and you can't think anymore. And if you took the great advice, the official advice again, that you should not maybe drink during the IELTS, then you suffer,
Mm-hmm.
And so actually that's really one of the parts where you have to show that you're still capable of performing well, even though you're completely wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
And what my advice would be, if, for example, like me, you have to go to the bathroom all the time when you drink,
Mm-hmm.
then try to not drink before, maybe, if that's possible somehow. So do the writing and the reading without drinking, but then try to drink at least when the listening starts,
Mm-hmm.
because then the body will process this. The listening only takes 30 minutes, and then in that time you will have enough time to give your body a little bit of energy back.
Mm-hmm.
And until you need to go to the toilet again,
Mm-hmm.
you can wait till the end of the listening.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice.
Yeah, so that helped me in my last session.
So were you doing any training beforehand under the exam circumstances so that you could understand your body chemistry and how it would play into the actual IELTS experience?
Well, actually, that's what I learned during the first two IELTS exams. So I didn't do any practical tests at home where I really forced myself not to where I try to train my body or find out how it works. Also, because the whole day, everything is shifted. You wake up maybe at another hour. You are going another route. Your body moves in a different way. You run maybe to another train station, and
Right.
everything is a little bit different. So it's really hard to simulate all that, and then plus the stress. Your body might be completely working differently.
Yeah.
So another advice would be, if you know that, for example, your body has a strong reaction on stress, or that then you might need to go to the toilet more often. Try to eat something really good the day before the test.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're quite nervous in the morning, that you haven't maybe eaten the, let's say, hot Thai food the night before, even though you might love it, but maybe that might be not the best idea, something like that.
Yeah.
So try to treat your body really well. And that's actually a good point also that you made. If you can train your body at home, or if you can listen to it a bit, then it would be nice to train that as well.
Yeah, well, because some of the candidates that I speak to through email, they do practice tests at a practice test before the exam, and then the exam goes completely wrong, and they communicate that it's this matter of, I mean, they practice the exam beforehand, but they'll do the listening today, and then 2 hours after that they'll do like a reading, and then tomorrow they might do a bit of writing practice. Like it's all in little kind of chunks or isolated little experiences, and then when they go to do the actual exam itself, when they're getting through the reading and then the writing, and it's really a matter of endurance more than their actual skill, which is the point that you're making as well. I mean, do you have the ability to kind of think straight for 3 or 4 hours at a time?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point. And I remember my first, was it my first? Yeah, I think it was my first test. I didn't, for example, know that you can't go to the bathroom somehow. Yeah, I think I didn't have a lot of preparation time for the first test, so I hadn't come across that on the internet, and so I didn't know that you couldn't go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And I found that so ridiculous, and they started to change the process a little bit. I don't know. Then they started with the writing first, and I think before they started with the reading. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And everybody was so nervous, and it was taking so long, And my God, you sit in this test, and they make so many security checks. I think it's easier to go through security at the airport than doing anything in the IELTS. So they are checking so ridiculously. They come every 10 minutes or something also to your desk, and then they check your passport, lift it up, look at you, and check the name of the sticker, and it's just ridiculous. I know that they have to make sure that everything is going right there, mm-hmm. and that you're not cheating, but come on, guys, that's really a little bit too much.
But what's funny, David, is sometimes I hear experiences that vary from one country to another. Like, for example, someone was telling me about taking the exam in the UK, and I'm sure it's the same in Australia, but if you were to go to the bathroom, they scan your thumb, like your thumbprint.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have that experience?
They do that too.
Yeah, that's true. But as someone was telling me that they didn't do that wherever they were taking it. I think it might have been an exam in India or something like that. But I just thought, oh, well, then the security precautions are they're not really standardized across all IELTS testing centers.
Yeah, I think maybe officially that's what they have to do, but I think maybe some countries are a little bit more relaxed about that, or maybe other testing centers, and that also leads me to one part that I wanted to mention, mm-hmm. Which is very controversial on the internet. So some people say it's a good idea to change the test center, mm-hmm. and of course officially, because everything is standardized, everything is the same. Yeah, of course that's what they have to say, but as now also when you tell me this story that this is different, for example, in India or in the UK, it's differently, then we see it's not always the same. And I would say if you feel uncomfortable with maybe some procedures in some test centers, just try another one. It will not hurt, As the official IELTS opinion is it doesn't matter. It's always the same. Give it a chance. And I can personally say that, and I will not say to which test center I went, but the second one that I attended, the third one actually, was behaving differently. They were different. It was a different kind of philosophy there. People were a little bit more relaxed. Mm-hmm. I bought some fluid or something to drink which was not transparent, and they didn't care about that. Mm-hmm. And maybe in the other test center they would not have let me through, and so it can vary a little bit, and sometimes also they have different rooms. So the one in the first test center, it was so cold, it felt so bad, and I don't know, the whole atmosphere was really making me nervous. And the other one was, it was a smaller room. The heating of the room was okay. The air was all right. Mm-hmm. It just felt a little bit more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And also the speaking test, which was for me the problem in the first two rounds, was different. The kind of person that interviewed me was behaving differently. It felt to me more friendly. Maybe it was just my perception, or maybe I was just unlucky before. But also the check-in procedure, it was more friendly, and I felt definitely more comfortable. And the room was warm. There were plants inside. It was a big room and a comfortable seat. And the other test center was a very cold room. There were no plants. You were looking out of the window, and then you see just a building, and the chair was not comfortable. And the way they introduced the speaking test was also, it was a little bit more, okay, next. So I didn't feel very comfortable there. So if you take all that in account, I would say not every test center is the same. And even though that's standardized and everything is officially the same, give it a chance. I would say it's not.
See, on the one hand, there is variation in the examination, just like we've said, and that some of it's out of the control of the IELTS itself. I mean, you cannot control the way that the building is built and this sort of thing, or that the fact that there's a sound of wind that goes by when it goes by the window. But on the other hand, I mean, you've got candidates that think that there's some huge conspiracy in IELTS, and that the examination is unfair and it's built to keep them out of Australia and all of these different things, which I don't subscribe to at all.
Yeah,
a lot of that I think just goes way too far into the this is a super overly controlled thing that's trying to allow certain people from certain countries into Australia mainly, or into the UK, and trying to exclude people from other countries, and I don't think that's accurate at all.
I mean, amazingly. If that is standardized all over the world, okay, there will be a little bit of differences, definitely. It's actually amazing that it works, that the system works, I would say, in different cultures and so many different test centers with so many individuals, and it's actually amazing that this works, I have to say. And I think, these conspiracies, oh my God, well, you can see a conspiracy in everything, but I think that's just an excuse, or people, everybody lets you in here if you pass your IELTS, and the teachers, they don't care, they have other things to do. They just do their job, and
exactly.
They don't say, I don't want to have Germans here because, well, I mean, you can always have an individual that will not like, for example, Germans or whatever, but they will have to have a lot of negative energy and criminal energy and risking their job to not let me in, I don't know. That's just crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy talk.
One last point there too. So an examiner, she has a YouTube series, and to be honest, the YouTube series I think it's a few years old, so I don't know if the information is dated or not. But she says that the examiners themselves are getting checked constantly to make sure that they're in line with what the IELTS demands. And so a lot of the results regularly from testing centers will get sent back to the UK to be marked again. And an examiner, so for example, the examiners say they're in India or wherever, or in Australia, they can be mistaken twice before they have to go back for a retraining. So it's pretty intense. I mean, if you're an examiner and if you give somebody the wrong band twice, then you're going to have to experience some sort of retraining or definitely a penalty of some kind. So I do have a lot of confidence in the system, but I know what you mean. It's a very elaborate system, and it really is amazing that it's able to work as efficiently as it does.
Yeah, that's true. And definitely, I think that's not going to happen. And if you have this conspiracy theory, if you want to see something somewhere, you will see it. But I think in the end, it's maybe these people who say that, they should maybe question themselves if maybe they should improve their English skills, or if they maybe made something wrong, instead of making it easy and say, oh, someone else didn't want me to enter Australia, you know, and it's their fault that I don't succeed.
No, you're absolutely right there. Yeah, I think it is a bit of a defensive thing for a lot of people. But anyway, the vast majority of candidates, they do buckle down and study as hard as they can, and that's the way it should be. But yeah, I think blaming the exam itself is silly, and it's unproductive.
And what I would also say is in the speaking test and in the writing test, when you might have to give also an opinion, even if that's your opinion, if it's something that is controversial or where you know that whenever you say that, people might feel offended, then try to avoid it. Try to be a little bit, just it's not really your opinion that you have to give. If you have a strong opinion about something where you always collide with someone else, just don't mention that, Just as an example, if let's say the question is, do you think that it is important that we need to make sure that our planet is still okay for the next generation, that we handle this climate change and all that. If you say something like, I don't really care. Well, I live my life, and when I die, I'm dead. And the planet or the Earth will be demolished by the sun in a few million or billion years or whatever. So I don't really care. Yeah. Then that's probably not a really good answer. Even if you can give your reasons for that, you kind of offend people, and that's not really what you should do. So try to just avoid everything that has to do with religion, culture, strong opinions, all that goes into that direction. You might really also, even if you don't get a lower mark, but you might offend people, and you don't want to force these people to read your maybe strong opinions or something that might hurt other people. They're also just humans sitting, so just try to be a little bit careful about that, I think. Yeah. And so I made one mistake also with the speaking test. So the question was, say what's your favorite movie? And I said The Matrix. And then they wanted me to, actually I had this, was it number one? No, number two is that where you get the paper and you have to speak for 2 minutes, right?
Right.
Yeah. And there, I had to decide for a movie, and I chose The Matrix. And it is a great movie, and I've seen it a lot of times. But people who have seen it, they know it's a quite complex movie. And I was trying to explain that movie within 2 minutes. And of course, God. I can't do it. Even Morpheus, the character in the movie says, if you want to know what the Matrix is, I can't explain it. You have to see it for yourself.
Yeah.
So, and I'm really there in this 1 or 2 minutes speaking test, trying to explain what the whole movie is about.
It's like a situation from a comedy movie or something. It's like a situation from a sitcom.
Yeah, it actually is. There was, after that I thought, why did you choose The Matrix? But that was only because they asked me what movie do you really like and describe it. And somehow I was, The Matrix is cool. Yeah. But it didn't help me. And then for the exam where I got a score 8, I chose You've Got Mail.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very, very simple movie, easy to explain, a love story. It's very, very easy to explain, and also, to put in a little bit of emotions. Yeah. And, nothing controversial, not a war movie. It's just, a nice love story.
Now,
and
David, I gotta stop you there.
So
because,
much easier.
Everybody listening right now, I'm sure, has the same question in their mind, and that is, did this guy get the same cue card on both exams?
Yes, I did.
That's amazing.
Oh my God. How random is that, right?
It's very
do you know
random.
what? I was, all the time. So I have to tell you later on. Also, I can tell you now. So when I did my third exam, there was a gap, half a year, so between the second exam and the third exam. And to be honest, I didn't do any tests. I didn't do any studies. I just said, okay, I will just do it. Just give it a go.
Okay.
And I improved my scores from speaking from 7.0 to 8, listening from 8 to 8.5, writing from 7.5 to 8.5, from reading from 7.5 to 8.5. I didn't do anything. And yeah, I got the same card. That was so random because actually I was thinking, because speaking was for me the most difficult part, and I thought I should at least prepare for some subjects, but I didn't do that. I just thought about the only thing that they asked me again, and I thought, when I was sitting in the bus on the way to the exam, I thought, I should have at least prepared a little bit for the speaking, to think about what you could talk about. And then I was thinking about the last time where I would definitely say I failed with this movie. And I said, I should have taken what movie, for example? Oh, yeah, You've Got Mail, and that would have been so much easier, but now they will take something else. But it was the same card, that was incredible.
Boy, that's one of the most
anyway,
random IELTS
sometimes
stories.
you're lucky.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, no, that is funny.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. So that's for the speaking, I guess. And then I have two more. One for the what was it for? Oh no, I have one more for the speaking, which could be actually a very good advice. I came up with that after I did that exam, but I thought that's actually a very good example, or very good way to practice this 2-minute speaking, because I don't want to talk to myself in the mirror. I just don't do that. It's just too weird. I know you should do that, and everybody knows it's strange, but I just didn't do that, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. So what I did, think that would be a good idea is, WhatsApp, right?
Yep.
And it's getting more and more common that you don't write and you don't call, but you send these voice messages.
Okay.
And it's so great, you speak and you see how long you're speaking, and then you send it after then 2 minutes or something, or a feeling, and you get into that I'm talking for a while without being interrupted and without feeling awkward, so it's naturally it's becoming more and more natural to communicate like that. I know the first time I saw that, I think that was 1 year ago, saw someone doing that in the bus, and I thought, that's so strange. Is that really how we communicate that now? It's kind of pathetic, and now I do it myself. But so it's a new way of communicating somehow, and this is really a good way to train. You see actually the minutes counting, and it's great. I love
actually, that's excellent advice. Yeah. So you were just sending messages to yourself?
Oh, no. I was sending messages to other people, also who speak English. But it was not actually a part of my exam preparation. I just did it, and later on I thought, that's actually that's a good idea. Also because you listen to yourself also, and sometimes when I start to speak, and then I interrupt myself, and then I see, I don't know, I'm just talking the same stuff again, or I'm stuck. Then I just, I slide to the left and I delete the message. Then I start to record again. So you become more and more self-aware of what you're talking about, and of talking for a certain time just on your own, and to not say something that doesn't make sense, or at least you can train that this way. And also you can listen to it after that again, so you have recorded it. So it's a very convenient way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just going to make that point too, where you do have this. It's sort of a log of these little audio chunks that you can replay, and then I guess an added bit to that is you could put headphones on, and then it's such when you have your headphones on, it's such an intimate experience. You can hear so clearly, how you're saying something, and this doesn't sound so right, and then you could send that file to your friend, and that is a native speaker, and ask them. I mean, yeah, it's a really interesting, versatile thing. Okay.
So then I have also something for the listening.
Okay.
So I think the listening, it becomes a little bit surreal. You have this limited time for this writing, reading, and then the next one is the listening, and then it starts with, this is the listening, blah, 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 of IELTS, International English Language Testing System. And then, can you hear this recording? Could everybody hear that? Yes, of course, we could all hear that, And then we get this exam paper, so we are able to turn it around. And then they start with a very basic explanation of how the listening starts. And that's actually where you should already work, just read everything that you can, because they just, what they are doing, for the ones who didn't sit this test already, they do one example of the very first question, of the very first part of the listening. Then they have, so first of all, they explain how that works, then why the first answer that was already put into this question paper, why that's the right answer, because they said that in the recording. And then after they explained this procedure that you already know, then they start this recording all over. And so the first words are only blah, 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 blah. And then you come to the first answer, which is already given. And in the meantime, I don't know how long that takes, maybe 2.5 minutes, maybe 3, I don't know. But try to use that time and read all the answers and questions of the next
section.
Parts. And that gave me like a buffer for all the other questions, and that really helped me a lot. And I did that only in the last time that I sit that exam. So before that, I was following this procedure. Oh yeah, this is the answer here. Okay. And then I was listening to this recording again, and I lost so much valuable time for that. So if you can, just read everything, and you don't, just so you have seen it already, you can mark something, underline, put something, you know what they are talking about. You will really, these 2 or 3 minutes that you save, they can be actually what gives you the better mark.
No, actually that's I think becoming best practice for this section, because several people now have reported that strategy as working for them too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and no, but I mean it's very good that we're amplifying it a bit.
Yeah, and so what I also would suggest there is that you make sure that, okay, that's a really stupid mistake, but I made it. So I made it in my first exam, and they say listen carefully and then fill out the answers and blah blah blah, and then you already focus on the questions, and then there was, I think, question 1 to question 7 or something, and something like that. And I thought the first part was question 1 to question 4. Then I was just focusing on that, and then I thought that I answered already all the questions. And then, because they didn't stop talking, and then I figured out, oh my God, it's going to the next questions already. It's not only 1 to 4, but it's 1 to 7 or something like that. And so make sure that you really know how many questions will be answered with the next section, and don't get lost with that. If you're once lost, it's terrible. So I don't know, maybe it's very dumb, but it happened to me. So I guess maybe there are 1 or 2 unlucky guys that already had the same problem. and because also it was separated, the 1 to 4 is in one part, and then you might think that the next one is another part, but it's actually one going conversation. And but another thing is, once you know, for example, that they talk about, let's say, question, and that's where actually it's maybe more important that you use this time when it's getting more complex. So to the end of the questions, maybe you have something 30 to 34. And then okay, you answer question 30 to 34, and what you're hearing only for that. Then in the end, sometimes they talk for 30 seconds or something, just random stuff, something that you don't really need to know. So when you know that you definitely answered the last question 34 already, and that nothing will come during that time, then you can already fade out there and read the next questions. If it's like if they're not sure what they're talking about, or if they change their minds, which happens quite often in the IELTS test, then you still have to listen to the very end. But sometimes you see, okay, the question has been answered. So for example, to which country are you going next? And then I will go to Canada. And that's so great. And then I've been to Canada once, and it was really great, and I saw this lake, and blah blah blah, and I wish you will have a great trip, and blah blah blah, and all that. You don't need to listen to that again, or you don't need to listen to that at all, and just read the next questions already.
No, I think that's definitely good advice. And for you, which do you prefer? Which are you more capable of doing? The listings that involve a dialogue, or multiple people speaking, or the monologues?
I think dialogues are okay, but if they are really more than 2 people speaking, sometimes it's confusing. It also sometimes it depends on the subject. I had one time, I think in the second exam, they were talking about various types of pigeons from all over the world and how they are differently. And the one maybe wait a little bit more. The other ones prefer to sit in the trees. The other one prefer to live in the park or whatever. And it got so confused. There are so many, 7 or 8 types of pigeons. And in the end, then you had to say which pigeon is actually doing what and making what sound. And oh my God, that was so confusing. So I think it really depends on the subject, and some subjects are quite easy. What I think is quite easy to listen to is opinions. For example, that I had in the last exam. There was something like 3 or 4 persons that study together, and they need to collaborate and present something, and everybody has their own tasks. And then you have some people, lazy students who don't do anything. And then you have this one person complaining, Katie, she's not doing anything. I haven't seen her in the last 3 weeks, and I do all the work. And then Peter says, yeah, I agree, she's really lazy. And then later on you will have questions about that student. And then you already know, okay, that is a kind of person where someone has a strong opinion about, or that's maybe not performing well. So if you listen to the dialogue, you already see how people are thinking of each other, and that might help you. So sometimes when you think, I don't know who was that student, or was that student actually writing very well, or is that maybe the best team player or whatever, and then you think, no, they were actually talking about her, and they said no, they were not satisfied. So try to imagine these people, these different students. And what I did also for some of these dialogues, I was sketching some pictures. For example, they had an offer of a hotel or something where they also offer, dancing sessions or something at a hotel resort. And just to eliminate several answers, I was writing. I was painting like a dancing human or something, and then they had something with sport bags, and then I was just drawing a sport bag, something very simple, and then by picturing that, it was actually then easy to strike something through, to exclude something. So it's really good if you try to picture the whole thing, and once you have a picture in your mind, then it's easy. Otherwise you can get completely lost. If for me it was hard to see in a dialogue who's really speaking now, and I think that's something that you can really train. That's something that you need to train if you have problems with that. In the end, you have to know what's going to work best for you. You will try to find these universal rules, or if you do that, then you will definitely succeed. Everybody's really different, and everybody has a different approach, different problems, weaknesses and strengths. And sometimes people come up with ideas that work for you and doesn't work for someone else. Okay, so one more thing. So I think, some people say you just need to improve your English. Other people say you have to do all the sample exam. I think for me at least, it was important that I did all these sample exams and that I went through all of them. But I think at a certain stage, that you will notice that you don't progress. You will you have learned what you had to learn. It was important that you do these example exams and get through all that. But after that, there's not so much to learn anymore, and so try not to go through another exam again and again. All these sample exams. I think if you have done like maybe 10, 15, I think that's more than enough. But what you need to do is really to check where are your weaknesses, where do you need to study a little bit more, and after that, I think you can find your own strategies how to improve on these sections, and maybe then try to do another sample exam. But don't do too many. I think just get the idea, see where your weaknesses are, where the IELTS exams are difficult, and where you try to where you will probably make some mistakes. And that's it. After that, definitely the English language is what you need to improve your skills, and you will not manage to get better after doing more than I think a certain magical number of tasks.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's good advice. That instead of just doing practice test after practice test and then assuming that things are getting better, you really do have to check yourself and check where are the weaknesses, fix the weaknesses. Actually, it's probably something that is a healthy part of an ongoing process where after each practice exam that you're doing, you're going back and you're noting whatever the weaknesses are, all the new language points that came up in that practice exam, and then going on to the next one.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
One more thing.
No problem.
But then we are done.
Yep.
But that's actually a good thing. I was going through this whole process, and there were times when I was a little bit frustrated also, naturally, because it was hard to get the score that I wanted. And a good friend of mine, and I should have listened to her before, and she said, "Oh, David, go get a teacher, there are people, you can pay for them and they help you." But I was so stubborn, and I said, "No, I will do that alone, I can do that." And actually, I would recommend people, if they have the money and if they can afford it, to really invest into that, into a teacher. So what you're doing, or actually to really spend money on it, and to get somebody help you on the way, because you can do everything alone and you can get so much for free, but sometimes it's good to pay for things, and to have really also the feeling that you invest into something, that you pay money for it. It's becoming more real. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just alone on your track. You will always find people complaining on the internet, or people trying to help each other. But if you have a tutor, it's so much more efficient maybe to reach your goal. So if you have the money, invest it, especially if you want to achieve it quite fast. But then also keep in mind that in the end you will have to work on that. You will have to do the big work, as you said in one podcast before, maybe more. But it's definitely a good investment. Sometimes you just need to spend money on things and get some things more serious.
No, it goes back to your point about pinpointing exactly where the mistakes are, and that's difficult to do when you're, especially for writing and only for writing and speaking when you're studying by yourself. So I mean, like if you have an essay, and I mean, to you it looks good when you're in your bedroom and you're writing it by yourself under like exam-like conditions. But if you were to send that to somebody that knows the IELTS very well and has taught the IELTS, has taught IELTS preparation for many years, they could look at that and tell you, 20 different things that you could do to make it better. And instantly, your maybe your perspective, as good as you thought it was, changes. And now you look at the exam and this particular part of the exam in a different way, and that just like you said, when you have issues with certain words and pronunciation, I mean, you have issues with articles, and you need to focus more on coming up with a remedy for that, or you have issues with wording things in a cohesive way. And if you focus some more time on that, and you look at these different language items and try to adapt them into your own language, that could be an instant way to improve your mark. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of truth in that. In that it doesn't necessarily mean you have to see a tutor every single day. That's not what we're saying here. I think that it's more just spot checking yourself every once in a while to make sure that you're progressing in the way that you think you are.
Yeah, definitely. Because in the end, you can go through all this pain alone, but if someone can help you on the track and lead you there, you'll be faster. You can save also money for the IELTS exam. Maybe if you don't need to do it 3 times, maybe only 2 times, or maybe only 1 time. So, and you save so much frustration. And for me, what I learned, sometimes it's really good to invest into yourself and to stop maybe thinking that you can do everything alone. Yes, you can do everything alone, but sometimes it's good if people help you, and it's valuable time, and invest into it. Time and money, and in the end you will be rewarded. If you go to another country, if you are able to settle down in another country, it's worth so much. So if you see the big picture and just invest it, and you save a lot of frustration. And I think my friend was really right, and I should have taken a teacher, but I didn't. I made it, but I went through a lot of frustration.
Well, I think on that note, I'm going to wrap up the episode. I think this was a really, really insightful episode. And David, I want to thank you. It was a privilege speaking to you and getting all of this information on your experience and what led you to be successful. And I think I'm thanking you on behalf of everyone listening today. So very much appreciated.
Thank you so much.
For the time.
Thank you for downloading from IELTS.com. Have you achieved an overall band of 7 or higher on the IELTS exam? Why not contribute to the podcast? Contact Ryan at his blog, IELTS.com. And don't forget to rate this podcast on iTunes.